Right
that.
now, there are, well, billions of dollars being spent to physically rebuild Greater Montreal.
Oh, absolutely. Billions.
Yeah, and they aren't just, pouring concrete or fixing potholes. What's happening is essentially open heart surgery on a major metropolis.
Right.
It's this complete rewiring of how millions of people move, how they live, and, like, fundamentally how they connect with each other.
It really is a massive systemic transformation. When you look at the scope of these projects, it goes so far beyond basic infrastructure.
Yeah.
We're talking about actually tearing down historical physical barriers, like using heavy transit
Yeah.
as a literal catalyst for human connection.
And that is exactly our mission for today's deep dive. You, our listener, handed us this incredibly dense stack of sources.
So dense.
We've got municipal urban planning reports, deep dive real estate analyses, and some really fascinating local social impact studies.
Yeah, there is a lot to get through.
There is. And the goal today is to pull all of that together and figure out how heavy infrastructure, real estate densification, and these grassroots community initiatives are kind of colliding.
Right, to completely reshape the city by that 2027, 2028 horizon.
Exactly. So whether you're an urban planning nerd, a real estate investor, or just someone sitting in your car wondering why your daily commute is, constantly under construction.
Always under construction.
Always. Okay, let's unpack this.
To understand the whole picture, we really have to start with the biggest physical domino,
Okay.
because heavy transit dictates where literally everything else goes. So let's look at the Dorval sector. Specifically, this thing they call the funnel effect of Highway 20.
The funnel. Yeah. Based on the traffic data and the reports you sent us, calling it a funnel almost it feels too polite.
It really does.
We are looking at a single corridor choking on somewhere between 150,000 and 300,000 vehicles every single day.
It's staggering.
It's like a clogged artery. You've got heavy commercial trucking, you've got commuters just trying to get downtown from the West Island, and international travelers, all of them converging on one aging stretch of asphalt.
It's basically a hybrid traffic nightmare. The road geometry there was designed for a completely different era,
Yeah,
right?
right.
And right now, it just suffocates regional mobility. But what's really interesting here is that the modern urban planning prescription isn't to just, pave over more land and add another lane.
Which is usually what happens.
Exactly. But the solution here is actually the new REM station, the Réseau Express Metropolitan at Montreal Trudeau Airport.
Oh, right.
Yeah, we are talking about a $600 million underground transit hub.
And when the blueprints say underground, they don't just mean a basement, right?
Yeah.
The sources describe this massive iceberg architectural design.
Yes, they are digging 40 meters deep into the bedrock.
Wow. 40 meters.
Yeah. It's being built by Econ, and it's slated to open in late 2027. But the mechanism that actually solves the traffic problem isn't just the depth, it's the volume and the frequency.
Okay.
This station is designed to handle 7 million passengers annually.
That's a huge number.
It is. And during peak hours, a train will depart every 2.5 minutes.
Wait, really? Every 2.5 minutes? So it completely removes the variables of traffic jams or, like, bad weather.
Precisely. You just show up. It creates a highly predictable 20-minute trip straight to downtown Montreal.
Wow.
And that forces a natural behavioral shift. People don't switch to public transit just because it's good for the environment. Some do, but most switch when it becomes definitively faster and more reliable than sitting in their car.
Which I imagine triggers a massive ripple effect in the local real estate.
Oh, massive.
Because if you suddenly take thousands of cars out of that funnel and put those people on trains, the land sitting around that new transit hub becomes incredibly valuable. I saw the term TOD popping up constantly in these zoning reports.
Right, TOD, transit-oriented development.
Transit-oriented development, yeah.
It's this philosophy of building dense, mixed-use neighborhoods within, say, a 5 to 10-minute walk of a major transit station.
Okay.
And you can see this unfolding perfectly at Square Dorval.
Now that's a really old shopping mall, right?
Yeah, the region's oldest. Inaugurated back in 1954.
Wow.
Today, it's essentially this massive asphalt wasteland of parking lots. But fueled by the incoming REM, developers are transforming it into a mixed-use space featuring 55% green spaces.
55%.
Yeah, we're talking parks, community gardens, rooftop terraces, basically replacing these massive heat islands.
But there is a fascinating physical constraint here that I noticed in the reports. They can't just throw up 50-story glass skyscrapers to maximize their profit, can they?
They absolutely cannot.
Right, because of the airport.
Exactly. Transport Canada strictly limits building heights in that specific zone to about 8 to 10 stories.
Because it sits directly under the airplane flight paths.
Right. So developers are forced to adapt. They have to maximize the utility of the land horizontally instead of vertically.
Which means emphasizing that green infrastructure and walkability, all anchored by that heavy transit.
Exactly.
Okay, so you fix the highway funnel, and you build density around the train. But transit alone doesn't fix a city if the neighborhoods themselves remain physically isolated.
That's a great point.
Like, how do you stitch a community back together when it's been cut in half by decades-old infrastructure?
And that brings us to Lachine. Specifically, a piece of infrastructure called the Saint-Pierre Interchange.
Right.
It was built back in 1966, and it is this suffocating concrete behemoth. It combines heavy aerial structures with this really deep elevated trench.
Yeah, the pictures in the report look, well, they look pretty bleak.
It's harsh. It forms such a severe physical barrier that locals actually refer to their neighborhood as the Saint-Pierre Island.
Wow, so it functions almost like a moat around a fortress.
It really does. There are literally only 2 streets that allow you to escape the area. But the government has moved into the planning phase to completely reconstruct this interchange.
And the mechanism here is verticality, right?
Yes. By replacing the trench and all that sprawling concrete with an entirely aerial structure, you suddenly free up the ground level underneath.
So you break the physical isolation, you can finally punch through with, like, safe pedestrian walkways and bike corridors.
Exactly. And, most importantly, you unlock the Lachine S sector.
Right.
The city is planning a massive eco-neighborhood there. But, an eco-neighborhood only functions if people can move in and out without relying on cars.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that entire development relies heavily on the newly fluid transportation created by tearing down that 1966 concrete wall.
Okay, so we're talking about massive, permanent infrastructure projects that take years, sometimes decades, to complete.
Decades, yeah.
Which brings me to a scenario in the sources that honestly had me scratching my head at first. Let's look at Nuns Island, or L'Île de Sèvres.
Okay.
The reports mention that the government used their right of preemption to buy a vacant lot on Chemin du Golfe. First off, what exactly does that mean?
So the right of preemption is essentially a legal tool. It gives the municipality first dibs to purchase a piece of private property if it goes up for sale.
Oh, okay.
Yes, specifically so they can use it for public infrastructure later.
Got it. So the city buys this prime piece of real estate because they want to build a permanent sports complex there.
All right.
But the timeline in the sources says they aren't going to build it for 15 to 20 years.
Yeah, that's the kicker.
If I'm a local taxpayer, I'm looking at this prime land sitting empty behind a chain link fence for 2 decades. Doesn't that just breed neighborhood stagnation?
It's a very common frustration in urban planning, honestly. You secure the land for the future, but you just don't have the capital budget to build yet.
Right.
However, the Borough of Verdun deployed a concept here called transitional urbanism.
Transitional urbanism.
Yeah. Instead of leaving it abandoned, they decided to activate the space temporarily.
And they didn't just guess what the neighborhood wanted either. They surveyed the public, and 80% of the respondents were local island residents.
And those citizens were highly specific.
Very.
They didn't want just a generic patch of grass. They requested outdoor co-working spaces with shaded tables.
Which is so modern.
Right. They asked for biodiversity zones planted with native species to attract pollinators. They even wanted container agriculture so they could grow vegetables and herbs locally.
They even crowdsourced the name. The sources said they submitted nearly 300 ideas. My personal favorite was Oasis sur Saint-Laurent.
It's a great aim.
But here's the crazy thing for me. This entire temporary setup only cost between $100,000 and $300,000.
Which is basically a fraction of a rounding error on a permanent infrastructure budget.
Exactly. But why spend that money on something temporary at all?
Because the return on investment is psychological and social. It creates what sociologists call a third place.
A third place.
Yeah, it's a neutral, accessible environment outside of your home and your workplace. In a really dense residential area, an island of greenery provides invaluable mental health benefits and social cohesion.
Oh, that makes total sense.
It proves that waiting for permanent infrastructure doesn't mean a community just has to sit in limbo.
Which brings up a really interesting contrast, actually, because while Nuns Island has the luxury of activating empty lots, downtown Montreal has zero empty space.
None.
They are forced to hyper-optimize every square inch. And a massive driver of that real estate demand downtown is students.
Oh, absolutely.
I like to think of universities as these urban gravity wells. They pull in transit lines, corporate headquarters, cafes, housing, everything inevitably orbits around them.
Demographic weight is just staggering. Montreal is the #1 university city in Canada and #2 in all of North America, just behind Boston.
Wow.
We are talking about 188,000 students,
Hmm.
including 40,000 international students.
That is an enormous population pressing constantly on the center of the city.
It is, and the city's heavy transit is literally carving itself around that demographic.
Yeah.
The sources highlight the new Edouard Montpetit REM station.
Oh, right. The one in the rock.
Yeah, it's being blasted directly into the solid rock of Mount Royal just to serve the Université de Montréal. And there are connections straight into the McGill campus, too.
And that deep integration of transit and student populations really dictates the 2027 real estate horizon. We are seeing major funds injected into housing this specific group.
Definitely.
Take the Heritage Reconversion Project at 1600 de Lorimier, for example.
Oh, the soap factory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They are taking the historic Barcelou soap factory and transforming it into 304 rental units, but the budget for that is over $108 million.
It's a massive investment.
Well, wait, $108 million? Why wouldn't a developer just, I don't know, tear down an old soap factory and build a standard high-rise for half the cost?
It really comes down to embodied carbon and real estate cachet.
Okay.
Retaining the historical architecture preserves the unique identity of the neighborhood, which commands a premium on the market, right?
True.
While also keeping just massive amounts of construction waste out of landfills. You see similar hypercenter densification at 1197 Crescent.
Right.
They're adding 122 units right in the city's entertainment corridor, and it's entirely designed around a car-optional lifestyle.
But there is a dangerous tipping point here, isn't there? Like, if you just build luxury, heritage cachet condos downtown, you eventually price out the very students who are driving this economic engine in the first place.
That is the core vulnerability of the university gravity well.
Yeah.
That's why the Utile project in Griffintown is so vital to the city's strategy. The city is actually investing $21.4 million to secure 285 off-market affordable units specifically for students.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The mechanism here is demographic retention. You have to actively subsidize student living spaces, or your vibrant, diverse downtown eventually just turns into a sterile monoculture of high-income earners.
And that tension between rising property values and vulnerable populations leads us to a broader issue in these reports. Urban development has to protect the people being left behind. Absolutely. And I have to admit, one of those social impact reports you sent us totally upended my assumptions.
Oh, really? Which one?
When I think of Montreal's West Island, I picture deep pockets, affluent suburbs, and, quiet streets. So why is a $20 million homeless shelter being built out there?
Yeah, that shatters a very persistent myth. The idea of the insulated, affluent West Island is honestly an illusion.
Really?
Yeah. The current housing crisis spares no postal code. And the Ricochet organization recognized this hidden crisis. So they purchased a large shelter there to fundamentally change their service model.
How so?
Well, they actually reduced their emergency overnight beds to 48. And in return, they built 59 affordable transitional housing rooms.
And the cost difference there dictates whether someone can survive, right? Because a room in that sector usually runs about $800 a month on the private market.
Exactly.
But Ricochet is offering these rooms for about $400, with leases lasting up to 5 years.
It acts as a bridge to independence. By offering 5 years of stability, you actually break the cycle of chronic homelessness.
Wow.
And from a municipal standpoint, housing someone permanently saves the system millions of dollars in emergency health care and police interventions. We actually see a similar, highly targeted philosophy in Tetralville with the John Howard Society.
Yes, the 18-unit modular building for ex-inmates.
Right.
Now, I want to pause here and address you, the listener, directly. Because if you heard your city was building housing for ex-inmates at the end of your street, your first instinct, the classic NM Bay not in my backyard reaction, might be panic.
Sure.
You'd worry about crime. You'd worry about your property values plummeting. And we are not taking a political stance here. We're just looking at the urban planning data and what the sources tell us.
Right, exactly.
Wow.
Which is exactly why we need to look at how this facility actually operates.
Okay.
First, we have to clarify what it is not. It is not a halfway house.
Right.
Halfway houses accommodate people on parole who are legally compelled to be there. This facility is strictly voluntary. It is exclusively for individuals who have completely served their sentences.
Okay, that's a big distinction.
Furthermore, The exclusion criteria are incredibly severe. Absolutely no one with a criminal record related to sexual offenses or violence against children is admitted.
So it's highly vetted, but how does that affect the surrounding neighborhood's real estate? Because that's what people worry about.
The urban impact is actually positive.
Really?
Yeah. Statistically, giving someone access to stable housing reduces criminal recidivism by over 40%.
Wow. 40%.
Yeah. But physically, they are building this facility on a vacant lot on Notre Dame Street East that was previously abandoned and filled with squatters.
Oh, I see.
So by replacing an unmonitored hotspot with a supervised, well-maintained building, you eliminate a zone of insecurity. It physically stabilizes the adjacent property values while providing a roof for those rebuilding their lives.
That is such a brilliant way of looking at social infrastructure. And the reports showed that community care extends to the aging population as well.
It does.
There was a stunning public health statistic in these sources. Chronic loneliness has health impacts comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
It is a silent epidemic.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where grassroots community organizations step in and function almost like quasi-governmental pillars.
Yeah.
Look at a group like the Chenou de Mercier-Est. They manage over 800 active senior members with a $1.2 million annual budget.
Wow.
Or consider Les Petits Frères, an organization that supports isolated seniors. Their motto is profoundly simple: flowers before bread.
Flowers before bread. The idea that beauty and human dignity are just as essential as basic calories, it's incredibly moving.
It really is.
But to play devil's advocate on a real estate deep dive, why does a community center hosting senior citizen lunches matter to the local housing market?
Because a supported senior population stabilizes the residential micromarket.
Oh.
When seniors have access to community meals, adapted physical conditioning, and psychosocial support, they age in place.
Ah.
They stay in their homes longer. Without that support, you see premature departures to long-term care facilities.
And when multiple seniors suddenly have to leave their homes, you get a wave of panic selling or hasty estate liquidation.
Exactly. That sudden influx of inventory destabilizes local property prices.
That makes total sense.
Furthermore, neighborhoods that develop a reputation for strong intergenerational care become highly attractive to young families. Social safety nets are a direct driver of real estate resilience.
So let's zoom out and look at the macro picture.
Okay.
You take all of this, the $600 million transit stations, the transitional parks on Nuns Island, the subsidized student housing, the stabilized senior populations. What happens?
Well, you accidentally create an incredibly vibrant, highly functional city.
Exactly. Here's where it gets really interesting. The global market is noticing. Montreal is currently bracing for an unprecedented tourism boom.
The projections for 2026 are breaking historic records.
Oh, yeah.
We are looking at a 7% increase in American tourists. And interestingly, while Paris to New York flight connections dropped, Paris to Montreal flights jumped by 17%.
Wow. And hotel occupancy in the early summer already hit 82%.
It's wild.
The sources credit a lot of this global appeal to tactical urbanism. Now, what makes urbanism tactical as opposed to just, regular city planning?
So tactical urbanism is about using low-cost, scalable interventions to change how space is used, often starting temporarily to test the waters.
Okay.
In Montreal, the city took over 10 major vehicular artery streets like Mont-Royal and Wellington and simply closed them to cars.
Just completely shut them down.
Yeah. They pacified the public space, painting the asphalt, adding seating, and essentially turning them into open-air living rooms.
And those pedestrian corridors are drawing massive global events.
Oh, absolutely.
We're looking at the September 2026 UCI Road World Championships, which is expected to draw 550,000 spectators. The reports noted it's the biggest sporting gathering in the city since the 1976 Olympics.
It's going to be massive.
Yeah.
But tactical urbanism isn't just about paving streets for pedestrians.
Right.
It's also about reclaiming the natural environment.
Right.
The reports dedicate a lot of ink to the Blue and Green Network. Montreal is an archipelago. It boasts 160 kilometers of riverbanks.
And they are finally using modern technology to make that water accessible to citizens. The municipal government uses this interactive mapping technology called ArcGIS.
Yeah.
They built a public dashboard called Qualo, which provides transparent, constant water quality testing.
And because citizens can easily check that data on their phones, they trust the water.
Which is huge.
It is. That allows the city to safely open urban beaches in places like Verdun and Cap Saint-Jacques. And from an urban planning perspective, these beaches are not just recreational novelties.
Right, the mechanism goes deeper. These waterfront parks act as vital natural cooling islands.
Exactly.
When the downtown core is just baking in concrete heat, these blue and green networks physically lower the regional temperature.
And they act as massive natural sponges, absorbing storm runoff and protecting the surrounding real estate infrastructure from flooding.
Oh, wow. So it's environmental resilience pulling double duty as a massive boost to local property values.
Exactly. It really all synthesizes beautifully when you look at an event like the Ile de Serres Intercultural Festival.
Oh, yeah, the festival.
You have Point Nord Park, perfectly connected to that new heavy REM transit network we talked about. You have a strict zero single-use plastic policy, honoring that environmental mandate.
Right.
And you have over 2,000 attendees gathering in a newly activated public space to celebrate the integration of newcomers and refugees through music and food.
It's physical infrastructure directly facilitating social connection.
Which proves that activating public spaces does more than just entertain tourists. It stimulates the local microeconomy, it builds a profound sense of civic belonging, and it fundamentally enhances the long-term value of the entire neighborhood.
It is the perfect synthesis of every data point we've examined today.
It really is.
So, to bring this all back to where we started, we began this deep dive looking at a $600 million underground transit station acting as a bypass surgery for a choked highway.
Yeah.
We moved through a $100,000 community garden built on a temporarily vacant lot. We looked at why historic soap factories are turned into student housing. And we explored how modular homes for ex-inmates can actually stabilize a neighborhood's property values.
A lot of ground to cover.
It is. But Greater Montreal's urban transformation proves that smart real estate isn't just about concrete and glass. It's about cultivating an interconnected, resilient human ecosystem.
And if we step back from Montreal for a moment, this raises a crucial question for you, our listener, regarding your own city. If a municipality can use transitional urbanism to turn an empty, fenced-off lot into a thriving community space for 20 years before it's even fully developed,
Yeah.
what underutilized, forgotten spaces in your own neighborhood are just waiting to be temporarily brought to life?
That is exactly the kind of provocative question we love to leave you with. Thank you for handing us these sources and joining us on this deep dive.
It's been great.
The next time you walk down a pedestrianized street or see a construction crane over a new transit hub, I hope you look at the urban surgery happening in your own city with completely fresh eyes. Until next time.
Thank you for watching this video. For more news and in-depth reports, visit wikiresidence.ca. All our content is available in text and audio formats across all your devices. Please feel free to share your comments with us.